It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to our Thursday Hacksaw's Headlines podcast, heading towards a great sports weekend. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, John Riley. We are broadcasting from San Diego. We are inviting you to stay with us for the next hour. A ton of topics on the table. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. There are 9 stores to serve you in San Diego. Build it, fix it, you will enjoy it in 2024 thanks to DIXIELINE Lumber. And by North County Eye Centers of Poway and Escondido, we all will need help with our eyes. And right now, North County Eye Center offering free vision test and a discount on glass frames if you tell them Hacksaw sent you. John Riley, boy, we got all kinds of stories. We're going to cover a lot of different topics, some good, some bad, some happy, some sad. Could be a fascinating show ahead of us.
Yeah, and plus you had some breaking news when you walked in the door here, so we got a lot going on.
Yeah. Before we start, a couple of items. Looking for followers. X marks the spot. I'm on X, a.k.a. Twitter. I want you to join my X Twitter All-Star team. Just follow me at Hacksaw1090. Secondly, when we're done with this podcast, you're taking over this podcast. John, it's your fault. You invented it. It's a raging success. Just explain to people on live stream what Fans Forum is.
Yeah, Fans Forum is just like the old days on 690. You got a question or comment for Hacksaw, you can call in, but instead just drop your take, your question in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube, and we'll get you involved.
And a reminder, we want you to join our team. It's called Hacksaw's Insiders Group. How do you register? It's absolutely free. You'll get a volume of information. Go to my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. I write on it every day. There's a big orange box right on the front homepage. Fill out that orange box. You'll get on our mailing list. And we want you to subscribe to the podcast, so therefore you'll get the instant alerts every time we put things up. And we do put a lot of stuff on that YouTube channel. So subscribe, share, tell your friends. John, got a burning baseball question. Topic 1 belongs to you, and then I'll give you the question.
Okay, well, Willie Mays. I mean, we lost a great one, Lee.
Say Hey Kid has passed away. To me, this was so eerie. Tonight, Major League Baseball is honoring the historic Negro Leagues at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama, a 114-year-old baseball stadium. That's where Willie Mays, as a 16-year-old, broke in, left high school, with the Birmingham Black Barons of the Negro Leagues. He played there for 3 years as a part-time player on the weekends. He was a high school kid. Anyhow, he was supposed to be honored last night in Birmingham because he was one of the last remaining stars of the old Birmingham Black Barons. Unfortunately, he passed away from heart disease overnight in San Francisco. But isn't it eerie? Baseball's tribute was at this 114-year-old stadium where he made his baseball debut, and he was supposed to be honored. What a phenomenal guy. I tried to come up with a description for Willie Mays, and amongst the words that I came up with were electrifying, explosive, dynamic, daring. I thought he was a cross between Henry Aaron, Mickey Mantle, Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, and Roberto Clemente. He did all those things. Raw speed, quick wrist, cannon arm, grace, daring, and a smile that you never, ever forgot. And now the burning question for you, because this guy accomplished so much in baseball with the New York Giants, with the San Francisco Giants, and he came back and finished up his career with the New York Mets. Greatest Giant of all time. And I know you're biased, and I know you're prejudiced, and I know if you took your shirt off, there's a giant tattoo on your chest. Willie Mays, 660 home runs. Barry Bonds, 762 home runs. Willie Mays, 3,293 hits. Barry Bonds, unbelievable record of 3,300 hits. Willie Mays, 1,909 RBIs. Barry Bonds, 1,996 RBIs. Willie Mays, 339 stolen bases. Barry Bonds, 524 stolen bases. Career batting average, Willie Mays, 301. Barry Bonds, 298. So the burning question for you, John Riley, San Francisco Giant fan in the closet, greatest Giant of all time, was it Mays or was it Bonds? Now, I know it's different statistical eras, and with apologies in advance, I'm putting an asterisk next to Barry Bonds' name because of steroids that he used. That's why he's not on the Hall of Fame, and Willie Mays is. Who is the greatest Giant of all time?
Oh, Willie Mays. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, sure, Bonds could hit. I think Bonds won some batting titles, but Bonds couldn't play defense. I mean, remember in the NLCS when he tried to throw out Sid Bream sliding into home plate, and it was just a weak-ass throw from left field?
With a weak-ass runner, too.
Exactly.
Dragging
so that's
his leg.
You got to get that guy out. So, Barry Bonds was great. I mean, he was great before the steroids. I mean, the Giants fans still love him in spite of all the Balco nonsense. But Willie Mays is baseball royalty. I mean, he not only was a great player, but he was there during all the racial strife in the 50s and 60s. He endured a lot of challenges in his life as he grew up, but just carried himself so well. I mean, Bonds was really kind of prickly to the media and to the fans, but Mays never.
Willie Mays handled the civil rights issue a lot different than the guy who just preceded him. Jackie Robinson wore it on his heart, on his sleeve, in your face. Mm-hmm. Willie Mays was not cut from that cloth. He was a very different, laid-back personality, yet he made strong statements about civil rights, but did not carry himself, conduct his business the way that Jackie Robinson did. And it may well be that Robinson was more bothered by how he was treated than Mays was bothered by the way Mays was treated. They were just very different in terms of their approach to things off the field. But, man, you think of that era, and you got Say Hey, you got Hammer and Hank, mm-hmm. and you got the Mick, and then you got Bobby Clemente. Those are the four greatest guys in the outfield of modern-day baseball, and I tend to think Willie was the more complete of all of them. Now, there's no doubt that Mantle was a tremendous slugger, and he could hit for average, but I don't think he was anywhere near the defensive player of Willie Mays. Henry Aaron was just a monster home run hitter. And then, obviously some of the others, Bobby Clemente was a complete ball player and a base stealer, etc. But Mays was a five-tool guy who did every one of the five tools to the peak limit.
Yeah, I mean, just a remarkable guy. I mean, in my man cave in the back, I've got like a poster of Willie Mays. I've had it there. It's the cover of the 1971 San Francisco Giants scorebook, which is cool. But, I'll tell you what, when I grew up in the Bay Area, I learned right away that Willie Mays is baseball royalty, even as like a 5 or a 6-year-old. And I remember going to Candlestick in 71, and it was bat day when they gave out the wooden bats, which is remarkable. They're like weapons in the stands. But it was a Willie Mays bat. And I remember it was signed by him, engraved. And I remember my mom saying, "Oh, you got to save that bat. That's very special." And it was a 27-inch bat. You really couldn't use it. I don't know where that bat is. I wish I still had it. But then remember the Giants traded him to the Mets. And I always thought it was because he wanted to go back to New York and kind of finish up his career with where he started. But I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Stoneham didn't want to pay him.
Probably so. Mm-hmm. Probably so. Interesting story. So he goes as a 16, 17, and 18-year-old part-time weekend player, still in high school with the Birmingham Barons. The Giants sign him. They send him to start his first season in the minor leagues in Trenton, New Jersey. It was called the Interstate League. I think it was Class B. Racist situation.
Oh, yeah.
He got through that. Sent him to AAA, Minneapolis St. Paul. Played for the Minneapolis Millers, which was a Giants' top farm club. He hit .467.
Oh, my God.
As a 20-year-old. As a 20-year-old.
Wow.
So they call him up to the Polo Grounds, and he gets up there, and he can't hit. He went 1 for 26 to start. And Leo DeRocher found him sitting in the corner of the clubhouse after one game crying. Now, the one hit was a home run off Warren Spahn. It was the only hit he had. And Willie said, "I don't think I can play this game." He had never had that type of adversity. And Leo DeRocher looked at him and said, "Young man, you are my center fielder. Now go play." And the rest is history. And Warren Spahn's joke was, geez, if I had not given up that home run, we might have been done with him forever. He might have gone back to Minneapolis, and that would have been it. But think about that, 1 for 26. And then Leo DeRocher looked him in the eyes and said, son, you are my center fielder. So there we go. What a phenomenal person. And I thought about this the other night when you sent me the text, the bulletin that, Willie Mays, R.I.P. I thought about the guys from that era, all my heroes as a sports talk show host. I interviewed all those guys. I interviewed Willie Mays when he was here, when the Padres had the All-Star game. I think it was in 1995. I interviewed Henry Aaron. In the past, I had interviewed Mickey Mantle. I mean, all these legendary stars of that era. I did sports talk radio interviews on Extra 690, and he was quiet. He was reserved. I came up to him in the clubhouse after they were closing the clubhouse, and I said, could I steal you for 5 minutes? And he looked at me, and he said, yeah, come on. We walked down the hallway into a little alcove where nobody else would bother us because he was getting bombarded. And he did 10 minutes with me, and he talked about Jackie Robinson, and he talked about the Polo Grounds in Ebbets Field, and Mickey Mantle, and and obviously the catch against my Cleveland Indians 1954
right,
World Series.
Guy.
So what a gentleman, what a cool guy. And to me, it's so eerie that he passes the week. They're just about to honor him with the Negro League honors tonight in Birmingham, Alabama. But what a great gentleman. So, Fans Forum question. You're a Giant fan. You're a baseball fan. Jump into the Fans Forum chat box right now. Who do you think is the greatest Giant of all time? Is it Say Hey back then or Barry Bonds right now? Your baseball invitation to join us right now is out there. We go from that. Next baseball topic, John.
Yeah, we talk a little bit about the Padres. They finally won a game on the road.
Yeah, not a very good road trip. 1-5. Not very good, period, exclamation point. I mean, the Padres are just kind of staggering out there. They come home to play Milwaukee. Milwaukee is now the surprise team to me in baseball. I mean, they got 40 wins already, and having lost all their pitchers in the offseason, that's absolutely amazing. They're a pretty complete baseball team. Padres have lost 11 of their last 17 games. I just have a problem with Mike Shildt. Just this constant barrage of positiveness about your team. I have confidence in these players. I respect their heart and how hard they work, etc. You're a less than 500 team. You're out of the wild card race right now with a $160 million payroll. He says, I have no concern. I know where my team's going to be in October. I'm starting to have concern about him as a manager because they continue to get guys thrown out on the bases in every form or fashion. They burned out the bullpen. Obviously, they got some guys nicked up, the pitching staff, etc. I'm just concerned about the managing style. I mean, we got sub-500 baseball. This is the third significant losing streak they've had this season with Mike Shildt. And there never seems to be any, quote, holding anybody to accountability. Now, that's a negative. Positive. How about that number 5 starter? How about Matt Waldren?
Waldren is
How
awesome.
about he and that knuckleball, a.k.a. Phil Niekro and Charlie Huff, and back in the day, Hoyt Wilhelm. His last 8 starts, his ERA is 1.83.
Beautiful.
This is your number 5 starter who's saving the season for you, John. I mean, is that absolutely amazing?
That's awesome.
So I'm becoming a fan of Matt Waldren and what he's done. Joe Musgrove, I don't like the things I'm hearing. He's going to throw a weighted ball for the first time now to test this elbow. I don't think this is going to go real well. He started to talk about, quote, changing the arm slot release. John, you can't change your mechanics as a pitcher in the middle of the season.
Right.
It just does not work. So I'm just really concerned that this bone spur thing is probably not going to go away. Feel bad for Tatis, feel bad for Machado. Fans are kind of bagging on him a little bit. Social media has been very unkind. They're hurt. At the end of this road trip, I saw Tatis pull up on fly balls that he'd never pulled up on before. And, my first thought, come on, is he loafing because they're losing? No, he's got a quad injury. And that's why he's slowed down. Can't run the bases the way he does. Machado has glided down to first base at times. And that, to me, is just a sign that the hip is not 100%. And he still doesn't have oomph in his swing. That's a byproduct of the elbow. But he antagonizes everything by making the comment about how the fans are viewing him on social media and how some are booing him. He said, well, it's a fan's thing to do what they want. I know what I'm doing. So he's in kind of denial that he's not playing very well. How about the kid? The kid in center field, Jackson Merrill, 5 home runs last 8 games.
Yeah.
This is the kid that hit 298 early and then was hitting in the 190s, and now has come back. He's had 5 home runs in his last 8 games, so he's playing really, really well. So that's the Padre Notebook. Sidebar story with the Dodgers. They just put Walker Buehler back on the disabled list. It's not an arm problem. They think it's a fatigue problem. He got hit by a line drive on the hip. That's the excuse they're using, but they're going to hit the reset button, and he'll be gone 10 days, probably at least. He'll be able to throw, etc., but he's not the same pitcher right now, and he's had more bad outings now than he's had good outings. Got a 5.84 ERA. And speaking of rehab, in Rancho Cucamonga last night, Clayton Kershaw, first rehab start, 3 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts in a Class A California game. Only had to throw 36 pitches, 28 of them were strikes, and the guy was clocked at 91 miles an hour. So first rehab start back, pretty good there. But with Buehler going on the DL, the Dodgers have 16 players on the disabled list, which is absolutely amazing. And I just keep wondering, how many more can they afford to lose before this thing topples over? Of course, everybody is so far back in the National League West. How far can they go before this thing caves in on them? But they got more guys in the farm system that think they're ready to call up, and obviously there's still the potential of a trade out there. So, John Riley, I filled the airwaves with my opinions on the Padres and Dodgers. It's your turn to respond.
Well, what do you expect Mike Shildt to say in a post-game presser? Yeah, man, he's slacking. He's not running hard. We've got no leadership in the dugout. I mean, what do you think he should say?
I think he should be honest that we're not playing real well. And
but he does say that.
We're making too many mistakes on the base paths, and I need to rethink how the hell all these guys get picked off, why we have the worst catchers throwing out runners in the National League, why we get guys tossed out at home plate. They've run themselves out of so many rallies because of stupidity or carelessness or taking gambles. So Shildt needs to do a little public evaluation of why we're calling what we're calling. I mean, he has no control over Darvish. Darvish, by the way, got lit up in Fort Wayne last night. He has no control over the Musgrove injuries. And, I'm not critical of Tatis and Machado. I see it. They can't run. And now whether or not there should be plans, another question, whether somebody should have gone on the disabled list. But I do think there are things going on during the game that bother me that Shildt never stands up and said, my fault, my mistake.
Well, he will say that sometimes. He does take blame on some cases.
They're sub 500.
Well, they're not doing well. I agree with you there. But it seems like every manager the Padres have had, going back to Andy Green and all of them, they always cover for the players. Oh, we're grinding. They're working hard. It makes you wonder if Shildt is like a mouthpiece for AJ and some of his front office guys, that they're trying to protect them, or are they afraid of? Are they walking on eggshells in that clubhouse because they're afraid Machado is going to go to the dark side?
He's managing a sub-500 team with a $160 million payroll. There has to be some accountability somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I think it should start with him on him. And I'm not bagging on injury players. I'm just not. But I just think there have been too many breakdowns in the field, etc. You're a Padre fan? Join us. Fans Forum. Chat box is open. You agree with me that he's not tough enough on his team. He's maybe not tough enough criticizing himself. Padre fans, they're coming off a lousy road trip. And now they got first-place team, Milwaukee, and then they got first-place teams in a week or so, and they go back out on the road for 9 more road games. So, Padre fans, your thoughts on the Dodgers? They topple over here?
It's like a MASH unit up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 16 guys. But, on social media, people were ripping you, Lee, for saying that, I don't know about the Dodgers. Will they have enough guys? Is anyone going to catch them? And the Dodger fans are not worried at all. They're like, we've got so much depth. We've got a great organization. We can lose Mookie for 2 months, and we're still going to win this easy.
Well, I think they also have resources. They can make this Luis Robert trade from the White Sox, and that's the hottest rumor going on as we go towards the trading deadline. And we've seen things change in baseball. Everybody used to wait till August 1st before they make a transaction. Now guys are doing it in June. A.J. Preller did it in May. So they've got the resources to go get another guy, another bat. And Robert in the Dodger lineup, I think, would be pretty doggone dangerous. And, they're not going to have Mookie for at least 8 weeks. And I don't know how many more pitchers they can afford to wind up on the disabled list. So I think there's at least one transaction coming from the Dodgers. And they got players at Oak City, and they got players at Double-A. So I think there's going to be a Dodger trade.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out. But the Dodgers always able to pull a rabbit out of their hat, aren't they?
No, because they are deep and because they have deep pockets and because they scout well. I mean, you saw the column I wrote on Dodger baseball this week, and one man's opinion column.
Oh, yeah.
I trust that they'll make a deal because they always make deals, and they don't make very many mistakes on their player acquisitions as compared to somebody in San Diego. Okay, so we got Padres and Dodgers notes. Fans Forum chat box is open. From that, I knew this was coming. I didn't think it was going to happen in the middle of the season.
Yeah, robo-umps. Are we getting closer, Lee?
Rob Manfred this week imposed a change. Minor League Baseball has operated with an automated strike zone, kind of an experiment for 2 years. Hasn't been very consistent, has not gone down very well. Rob Manfred imposed a change on AAA baseball, the Pacific Coast League and the International League. And it is not going to be use of computers for a robo-umpire situation at home plate. But they are installing in AAA baseball, it starts next week. Every team will have 2 challenges using instant replay on balls and strikes. This is an experiment for what I think we're going to have in Major League Baseball next year, because balls and strikes, home plate calls, moving home plates have been abysmal in Major League Baseball this year. The stuff that's gone on with home plate umpires is disgraceful. We had an incident in a Padres-Phillies game early this week. Home plate umpire, upon further review, missed 20 balls and strikes calls.
20?
20. Moving strike zone. Mm-hmm. So they're doing this. Now, the only question I have, I don't want to see computers calling balls and strikes in games. I think there's a human element, and the human element has to get better. But there are mistakes. So you're going to be able to now come out of the dugout and say, I want that pitch reviewed on instant replay. But why only give a manager 2 reviews in 9 innings?
That's not enough.
No, I mean, maybe it should be 5 or maybe 4. Or if you give him 4 and if he gets 1, he gets an additional 1 if he's right. But they're only limited to 2. At least that's what they're doing in AAA baseball. I don't know. Do you like that? I'd like the challenge rather than have the robo-ump with the computers and all that.
Well, I just want them to get it right, okay? And so can we depend on human umpires? Maybe, but they can only be so accurate. Now, one of the criticisms or comments I've heard is maybe they need to stop drawing that white rectangle on the screen because it's not always accurate and it creates a false expectation for the fans. Many people think that the umpires are actually a lot more accurate than we think they are.
Well, there was an evaluation last year that said the umpires' balls and strikes calls had improved from 83% to 91% last year.
Okay.
I don't see 91% this year. I see way too much. But that's the hard part. We're sitting at home and we're watching a Padre telecast or a Dodger telecast or ESPN telecast, and the camera angle from center field may not be right on behind the pitcher and home plate. It might be off to an angle, which kind of distorts everything.
Correct.
And then you got these guys throwing this wicked stuff that's biting and jumping and all that. I think it's a very hard thing. I like the idea of instant replay challenge for balls and strikes, but it should be more than 2 calls per game. Make it 4, make it 5. And I don't think you're going to have a ton of delays.
Well, they're doing something finally. So, so if this works, then let's start adding, even more appeals. Okay,
you're a baseball fan. You want to see instant replay challenges on balls and strikes? Or would you rather see computers, robo-umps, instead of the guy blowing the call behind home plate? Jump on board in Fans Forum. That's all things baseball. Switching topics on the table to
the NFL and the antitrust suit. What's the latest development?
Well, they're wrapping up the second week tomorrow. Boy, mixed bag of testimony. A lot of confusion here about what different people are saying. Let me just run through the headlines. Roger Goodell testified for 2 days this week in the antitrust lawsuit over the NFL Sunday Ticket. And he just stood up and reiterated, it's our product. We have a right to package TV games any way we want. And by the way, John Riley, you can get CBS and Fox Game of the Week on your TV absolutely free.
Yeah.
We have the right to do a premier package. Then he dumped all over the NFL Network, which has really been downgraded. And he said, we pulled Thursday Night Football off the NFL because it was so poor, it was substandard. That's why we put it out to bid. I don't know any person that believes that. I think they pulled it off NFL Network because they thought it was going to be a marquee event. we're going to go to somebody else to give us more money on a Thursday night package. And that became Fox, and then it became NBC, and now it's Amazon. Here's the one that almost knocked me off my chair. Roger Goodell wraps up his statements yesterday. He says, I just want you to remember this, John Riley. We are pro-consumer. We are pro for the fans on everything. Okay. This is the same National Football League that went to court and tried to block franchise free agency, went to court and tried to prevent the players from getting free agency, had to go to court and then write a check to stop the concussion lawsuit from taking place. But yet we are pro-consumer and pro for the fans. Do you believe any of that?
Well, there's hypocrisy all over the place. I mean, we could break all these things down, but in the end, it's the NFL's product to do with it as they wish. I mean, do you think that the NFL fans should be suing the league because they created skyboxes for rich people where they charge God knows how much to get in there with Taylor Swift, thousands of dollars? I mean, what's the deal here? I mean, it's a private company. It's their product. You aren't guaranteed a constitutional right to see the NFL.
And I guess I do side with you on that because they are giving you hometown teams. You see the Chargers in San Diego or in LA. You see the Rams. You see the hometown team in Dallas.
Right.
And then you do get the regular game of the week on CBS and the games of the week on Fox.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, I don't quite understand where the fans who are part of this antitrust lawsuit have the right to say you can't take some of the packaging and put it somewhere else and charge an elite price. Because as Goodell said, and I don't always believe everything that comes out of their mouth, Goodell said, you got your own team on TV and you're getting access to the network games on TV free.
Well, it's kind of like if I wanted to watch the Red Sox and the Yankees and it's not on my local channel, should I sue the Major League Baseball because I can't see it? Or should I just pay the subscription MLB.com and then I can get every game?
Now, it's interesting. Jerry Jones got in there and he was asked the question, what's wrong with selling a single team package? In other words, allowing the clubs to sell just their games on TV, on satellite.
Yeah.
He said it would destroy the revenue-sharing concept. It would damage our network contracts with CBS and Fox and NBC. He said, if I sold Dallas Cowboy games specifically, I think I'd sell a lot more subscriptions than the Cincinnati Bengals sell. And how would that be good for the NFL? Because all the TV money goes into a lump sum thing. If you allow it to be an individual thing where John Riley could just strictly purchase, instead of Sunday Ticket, he'd just strictly purchase Dallas Cowboy games, all that money would go to Jerry Jones. That's not good for the revenue-sharing model that has made the National Football League a success. And he said, you know, we do that, we devalue CBS and we devalue the Fox contract, and we're inviting viewers to go away from the big networks just to watch my Dallas Cowboys. And is that really good for the National Football League? Then Sean McManus, the president of CBS, now, you know, when you send out emails, it's out there in the ether zone. They got emails from Sean McManus, CBS's president, talking to the National Football League before CBS signed the last extension, asking them, what are you going to charge for Sunday Ticket? I need to know, because if you don't charge enough, you're going to devalue us. And if you're devaluing us, I'm not paying you that kinds of billions of dollars in my CBS contract. We need to know what the price is. In essence, they were forcing the National Football League to put $399 up there. There had been a proposal from ESPN, $70 a year subscription for John Riley to pick whatever team. You get to watch that one team. That was voted down. Owners never even wanted to discuss the single pricing of a team. It had to be you buy it all at a high price. So this is interesting. Part of me says this is typical money grab NFL, but part of me says John Q. fan, including John Riley, my co-host, quit bitching. You got the hometown team you want to watch here. We're lucky we get both the Rams and the Chargers. And you still have the CBS and the Fox packages on Sunday. And, of course, we do subscribe to cable, so you do get access to Monday Night Football. So I don't know how this lawsuit's going to work out because the fans do have content. It's not like they're taking all the content away and then charging you an astronomical.
Well, they should just make it so fans can a la carte what they want. I mean, in baseball, we can have a single game contract, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I mean, if you're a Cowboy fan, you live in Minneapolis, how in the hell are you going to watch the games? So you get lucky if you get 4 or 5 of them a year, so why not give that Minneapolis fan of the Cowboys the ability to buy them all? Give people options depending on their life situation. So I think the NFL is wrong to try to force everyone to buy the big package, but they should let people buy individually the things they want.
Okay. Fans forum question for NFL fans out there. I guess really should ask, because I subscribe to Sunday Ticket. I like it. I'm willing to pay the price because I get to see different teams that I like. Big price? Sure. It's one of the few luxuries that I do. Do you buy Sunday Ticket? Do you think this lawsuit has any legs to stand on? Do you think the NFL is going to lose? And lost in all the conversation, if they lose this antitrust case, it's $7 billion in damages, but it's trebled to $21 billion in damages if the NFL loses this court case.
How does that work? How does it go from 7 to 21?
Any antitrust declaration is treble damages.
Triple? Oh my God! I didn't know that was a rule.
Yes. So if they lose this case, it's not $7 billion decision. It's worth $21 billion. But I'm a tough time juggling the balls in the air as to what's right, what's wrong, what's legal, what's illegal, what's antitrust, what's just business as norm. Interesting. Last football topic here in the first half.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little AFC West.
Yeah, let's talk about the storylines. National Football League, Kansas City Chiefs. The state of Kansas did it. They did it on Wednesday. The state of Kansas has completed the financing worth $1.6 billion for a new Kansas City Chiefs stadium, not in Kansas City, Missouri, across the border, Kansas City, Kansas. We talked about this last week, that the state had proposed they would use profits from casinos, profits from the lottery, and a sales tax from the businesses that would crop up around the new stadium in the state of Kansas. That's how they would fund it. Part of the agreement is the Chiefs would spend $700 million of their own money to build a practice facility in the state of Kansas right across the state line, 7 miles from Arrowhead Stadium. State of Missouri is now scrambling, trying to figure out how can we come up with a counter proposal, because the Chiefs were willing to renovate Arrowhead, but they wanted half the money to come from the state of Missouri and from Kansas City, Missouri, and the voters voted it down despite the greatness of the franchise. Well, now, across the state line, Kansas City, Kansas has the money in place to do this. That's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, but it's true. Even in Kansas City, Missouri, you think the fans would be overwhelmingly do anything for the Chiefs, including pay more taxes. But there's a limit. The people are willing to go here, Lee, and maybe they've hit that line.
And the other thing is, not everybody in Kansas City is an NFL fan or cares about the Chiefs or knows about the Chiefs. It's a citizens thing. Now, there's a little bit of blowback across the state line in the state of Kansas. Some of the people in Kansas City, Kansas, saying, all that money from the lottery, all that money from casinos, all that stuff, is it not supposed to be used to fix the potholes by my driveway?
And schools.
Or my schools or my water lines? Yeah. And we're going to give it to Clark Hunt and the Kansas City Chiefs in the form of a new football stadium? Little bit of blowback coming back from Kansas City, Kansas.
There should be blowback for that.
So that's the Kansas City Chiefs story. Raiders looking for more running back help. This is really interesting. They've got a young back from the University of Georgia they really like. His name is Zamir White. They've got a veteran, former Detroit Lion. His name is Amir Abdullah. They're looking at Kareem Hunt, former Kansas City Chief, third down back, tough guy running back, also with the Cleveland Browns. He's played well as a rotational role guy, and they're bringing him in to talk to him. I like him as a football player. Sometimes he gets himself in hot water off the field. But in terms of a do-everything guy, most notably as a third-down guy, I was surprised he ever got away from Kansas City, but they're looking at him. And the Chargers, your coach, Jim Harbaugh, when he talks, it's like going to a tent revival. Praise hallelujah, and all that. So he finishes up the OTA workouts before they go on summer vacation this past Friday. He holds his final press conference, and he's just raving about Justin Herbert, and rightfully so, and says what a phenomenal set of OTAs they've had. He said, we put the first, second, and third layer of paint on our offense. We're ready. And then Friday he says, we have now an elite offensive line. I say, what? They have 3 number 1 draft picks now on their offensive line, and then they got Trey Pippins, and they got a journeyman center. I don't know if I'd call it elite because they haven't played it down together yet. And they want to power the football and run the football and better protect. Well, until you show me in games how consistent, how complete they are, I'm just not going to praise hallelujah you have an elite offensive line right now. But Harbaugh's he's through the roof, off the charts with these phrases. One other note. He left, and he did not leave happy, and he did not leave on good terms. And Austin Eckler, he's still furious about what happened last year with the Chargers. He's now gone to the Washington Commanders as their lead back. He said he met with Harbaugh and those guys, and he was an unsigned free agent. And he said, Jim told him, my running back is going to have 200 carries. He looked at Austin Eckler. He says, I don't think you're my running back. I think Eckler was really offended. And this guy's got 6,600 all-purpose yards in 5 years. Do everything back. I thought he was treated really shabbily. He thinks he was treated really shabbily. So he does this interview on the East Coast and says, he thought I was going to be a 200 carry back. I'm not a 200 carry back, but look at my record book and what I've done. And he says, oh, by the way, you just brought in 2 running backs from Baltimore who have a history of injuries to replace me. So Austin Eckler not real happy at what he leaves behind here. But so he goes to Washington, different situation. So Chargers are handling things really differently.
Well, is Austin Eckler saying, look at the back of my football card? And, like Manny Machado does. The Jim Harbaugh is a cheerleader. He's a PR guy. He's trying to create all the hype around that. Charger fans right now feel very good about all the depth on this roster, even though no one's done a damn thing on the field.
They haven't played together.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess my one man's opinion thing we put out on Instagram pissed a few people off, like about 1,000.
Yeah, they're like, Hacksaw, you don't know what you're talking about. We've got more depth than we've ever had as an organization.
Have you played a game together? This is what I said in my one man's opinion that we put up on Instagram in addition to what we do on our YouTube channel. I said, please tell me, do you have a 1,000-yard rusher to replace Eckler? No. Have anybody's caught 100 passes to replace Keenan Allen, Mike Williams? No. Do we really know what we have an offensive line yet? No. Who are your defensive tackles that give all those yards rushing? Have you replaced them? No, not really. To me, there's a lot of question marks here. It might be potential. Might be pretty cool. You do have the quarterback. But until you prove it to me the first weekend in September, I just have reservations.
What's interesting is I was looking when we were doing that video, I was trying to figure out, do the Chargers, have they ever had 100-catch receivers? And obviously Keenan Allen has done that.
And then Mike Williams.
LaDainian did it one year. But, guys like Charlie Joyner, Wes Chandler, even Antonio Gates never caught 100 passes in a year.
No, but they were close.
Yeah.
And in the Fouts era, they didn't need a 100-reception guy because they had 5 guys from Kellen Winslow to Charlie Joyner to JJ to Wes Chandler to Chuck Muncie. They spray the ball everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that was a dynamic offense. Okay, we get to halftime. Our podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. Listen, you got projects. I've done projects. I had windows put in at my place. You walk around this palatial castle that this guy lives in, you won't believe how much stuff he's got from DIXIELINE. John, why did you go there?
Just the good guys. I mean, they've been in San Diego for over 100 years. You can count on them. They're trustworthy. And they got everything you need. If you want lumber, building materials, you want to remodel your kitchen, bath, do decking in your backyard, they've got it all.
These are the people. If you got projects, these are the people who want you to go to talk to. DIXIELINE Lumber. And our podcast brought to you by North County Eye Center of Poway and Escondido. Very simply, we're going to need help with our eyes somewhere down the road. Now, if you've not had a vision test in a while, I recommend you call North County Eye Center and set one up, regardless of where you live in San Diego, because right now North County Eye Center is offering free vision tests and a discount on eyeglass frames by mentioning Hacksaw's podcast. We're going to need help with our eyes down the road, and that could include treatment for things like cataracts, glaucoma, eye infections, pink eye, whatever. When you need help with your eyes, we want you to go there because these are the people we do business with, North County Eye Center. Before we go to the second half, couple of program notes. X marks the spot. You on Twitter? You're on X. I want you to join my team, become part of the All-Star team. Want you to follow me. Just do it. Follow at Hacksaw1090, at Hacksaw1090. What's the code?
At Hacksaw1090.
So join us there. Also, want you to be part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. We started this club a couple months ago. It's kind of blowing up. Go to my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. There's an orange box right at the top on the homepage. Fill it out. You'll get all the emails of all the things we're providing. And we want you to subscribe to this podcast. Therefore, you will get all the messages, all the links. Every time we put something up on the podcast, we put them up all different days of the week. Give us a thumbs up. Give us 5 stars because that really helps with our ratings. And thanks for being part of our team. John, are you ready for the second half? Because we're going to go some other places here.
We are. We're going to talk a little NBA here. I mean, Lakers, they've made a big decision, right?
The decision has been made. It was paralysis by analysis. I find this hard to believe, but they this afternoon are hiring J.J. Redick as head coach. Supposedly a 5-year contract for somebody that was on my TV yelling at you, who's never coached a game anywhere. Now, he's bright, 15 years in the league, highly recommended by consultant Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, but he's never been there and done that. But they were really between a rock and a hard place. And the story that broke last night was they were not having second thoughts, but they were thinking about, quote, delaying the decision. Why? Because another coach became available, Monty Williams, who had been in Detroit and failed terribly in a bad organization. Prior to that, had great success in Phoenix, tremendous following in New Orleans. He got blown out of Detroit, and all of a sudden, his name surfaced as maybe we should interview him. But the Lakers elected not to do it, and they've hired J.J. Redick. Now, in Laker history, they have hired guys who've never coached before. I mean, the greatest one of all was Pat Riley. So they've done this before. But they hired J.J. Redick, and now the burning question, what happens next with LeBron James? Does he stay? Does he opt out? Does he force the Lakers to give him a 3-year, $150 million extension? Do they draft Bronny James? Does he get lured somewhere else because maybe he can't win here? So a lot more dominoes have to fall, but the Lakers get J.J. Redick. And this Monty Williams thing is just ridiculous. Detroit's ownership is in shambles. I don't know how they have any fans left at all. Detroit, which has really had bad basketball. They went 14-68 last year. Had all these number 1 draft picks the last group of years, and they were hurt, didn't play well, some washed out. Monty Williams gets hired on a 5-year contract, and he gets fired after 1 year. They owe him, it's amazing, $65 million the Detroit ownership owes Monty Williams. And I just found out this morning he's got deferred compensation still coming from the Suns worth another $20 million.
Good to be him.
$85 million in contracts that teams owe him for blowing him out, and the owners are the ones that created the mess. New owner in Phoenix treated him shabbily, and obviously ownership in Detroit has no idea what the hell they're doing. I figured this out last night. Detroit's composite record in the last 5 years, 94 wins, 290 losses. Wow. 94 and 290 in Detroit. That's just a disaster. So, NBA fans, Laker line is open. What do you think about this situation with them hiring J.J. Redick? Like it or dislike it? By the way, when you buy things on a credit card, ask the wife, the bill does come due. You do have to pay the bill somewhere down the road. NBA has just sent out the luxury tax bills to all the teams for free agency. There's one common thread here I want you to tell me about. Golden State, $177 million they owe in luxury tax payments for all their big money free agents.
Holy crap.
Yeah, Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, etc. $177 million. Clippers, by virtue of their big three, $142 million tax bill to Steve Ballmer. Phoenix Suns with the new owner, and they formed the team, $68 million luxury tax bill. Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis and Chris Middleton, and then the deal they made to get Damian Lillard. They owe a tax bill this season of $52 million, and Boston $42 million. So those are the top tax bills that are due. There's a common thread through all those teams except the last one. What's the common thread?
None of them win.
Damn right. So, that's amazing. Golden State, $177 million tax bill for a bunch of guys now that are no longer in their prime. And the Clippers, monster tax bill, $142 million for a team that's got a lot of injury issues and personality issues and might not have that team back next season. Isn't that fascinating just to go over the luxury tax limit that much?
That's insane. I mean, that's more than Steve Cohen is paying for the Mets, isn't it? I mean, that's just a lot of money. And it just goes to show you that what the Clippers are trying to do isn't working, so they've got to rethink the whole thing. I want to go back to Detroit and, because I was encouraged by Malachi Flynn when he went there. He had a big night one night. I think he scored like 40 or 50 points in a game. It makes you wonder what's going on there. They had that Cunningham kid. They have a lot of talent. Why has it been such a struggle?
I don't think he can play 5 kids on the floor at the same time in the NBA. And Cade Cunningham got hurt this past year and missed a large chunk. He had a very good rookie season, a very bad set of circumstances. They drafted a bunch of big guys. None of the big guys have been able to play with any consistency. So it's just hard. There are not a lot of Victor Wembanyama's that show up and average 19 points and 9 rebounds a game and are all-stars. And Detroit's had high picks in the lottery, and just outside of Cade Cunningham, none of them have really worked out well, and some of them have been injured. But, God, that record, 94 wins and 290 losses, my God. It's amazing to have any fans left.
Yeah, I mean, and in Detroit, I mean, you figure, well, the Lions are better now. The Tigers have been in the dregs forever. It's a tough go to be a Michigan fan.
Yeah, it's tough to be in Detroit right now. We're not talking about the weather. And what's your quick spin on the Lakers? And I don't know how you sell J.J. Redick after getting turned down by Dan Hurley and then pausing for a minute and asking about Monty Williams at 14 and 68. Good choice, bad choice? Should they've gone a different direction? Jeff Van Gundy was out there right at the last minute saying, yeah, I'd like to be a head coach again, and never even interviewed him.
This feels like, he was the second or third choice. It's got a really weird vibe to it. But I'm all for more drama with the L.A. Lakers, and I want to just see this whole thing just continue to swirl. I just have no confidence in Redick. But again, I don't know who else would have been a choice. What's the other option?
Well, those were the names that were out there at the last minute. Interesting to see where this goes. Interesting to see whether veteran players walk all over this guy, because this guy's never coached anywhere. But then again, Pat Riley never coached anywhere, and we look how that worked out.
Well, he's going to be like Mike Schild. Well, my guys are working real hard. He's going to cover for his guys.
Okay, we go from hoops. Feel free, if you're a Laker fan, agree or disagree with this acquisition. Let's talk hockey. I imagine everybody in the old Canada Network's going to start piling in now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this series is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Oilers in just a minute. Let's talk about what we talked about Monday. We had a list of guys who are about to be traded, and the dominoes have just started to fall in the NHL. The LA Kings, somehow, some way, convinced the Washington Capitals to take on underachieving center iceman Pierre-Luc Dubois. They traded him for a goaltender that they used to have, Darcy Kemper. The Kings obviously have got an enormous problem in goal. They had an enormous problem contractually because Rob Blake gave Dubois a just ridiculous contract. Dubois is now on his 4th team in 5 years. He had 16 goals last season. He made $8 million, and he just did not look like he cared. He didn't play hard. He wasn't the physical specimen he used to be. So this guy's gone from Columbus, that got tired of the act, went to Winnipeg, that got tired of the act, to the Kings, who got rid of him after 1 year. Congratulations, Washington Capitals. He's your problem. He's Rob Blake's problem, too, because Blake paid an unbelievable price. And follow me on this. So Rob Blake is looking for another goal scorer, sees this 24-year-old big physical guy who used to score goals in Pierre-Luc Dubois. So Rob Blake trades 4 for 1 to get him. He included was a second-round draft pick, included was 20-goal scoring young center iceman Gabe Vilardi, veteran Alex Iafallo, and another prospect. Trades 4 for 1 to get Dubois. Dubois comes in here and floats through the season, does hardly anything. And so now Blake takes him and deals him to Washington for a backup goaltender who he used to have in Darcy Kemper. I mean, Kemper's a journeyman. Is he okay? Yeah, he's okay. Is he going to be Vezina Trophy winner? No. So this is the all-time worst transaction that Rob Blake has ever made in the history of being general manager. Now, I think he's got a good team. Maybe Kemper's going to solve the ongoing goaltending problem. But he traded 4 for 1, gave him an enormous amount of money, and then he had to dump him to take back a guy he didn't want a couple of years ago, and he let him go. To me, that's really strange. The second big trade was Jacob Markstrom, big goaltender, $4 million a year. Calgary trades him. He goes to the New Jersey Devils for a number 1 draft pick and a young defenseman. Now, I have a problem with Calgary. I don't know, are there any fans left in Calgary? They've traded all these players away, the Flames have. They've dealt away Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Hockey, Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, now Markstrom, and Chris Tanoff. They traded the 5 cornerstone players of their team. Now they got low budget, don't have a hell of a lot of talent. I don't know if there's any hockey fans left in Calgary to root for that team. How can you keep dealing your stars away? So we got the 2 trades, and that's the first of what I think are going to be a monster group of trades, because Monday I think we had 5 goaltenders on the trade board that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. So 2 of them are gone, and then the Oilers. I mean, you talk about getting up off the floor. Holy cow. Now they got a Game 6 on Friday night at home. You think they're crazy in Edmonton? Wow.
It's going to be awesome.
Tunes. Yeah, it's going to be unbelievable. And Connor McDavid's got 44 points in 22 playoff games. And I'll tell you, Florida now has to be thinking about, are we doing the right stuff here? Because Florida keeps taking penalties and keeps putting these guys on the power play. Now they're starting to score. You know, the other game they had a power play goal and a shorthanded goal, then the empty net goal to seal the win. Now suddenly it's got to be in the back of Florida's mind, how do we approach Connor McDavid and Draisaitl? And can we afford to try to rough them up if we keep taking penalties? They keep scoring goals with the man advantage and even scoring goals shorthanded. So Edmonton's right back into this thing, and I don't think Edmonton's going to get beat in Alberta on Friday night, which means there'll be a Game 7 probably back in Florida on Monday night. So that's going to be fascinating to watch. And John Riley puts on his general manager's hat. It's going to solve the Kings and the Calgary Flames issues.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think I give Rob Blake credit for admitting he made a mistake and then just unloading a guy, because it was a sunk cost, the whole Pierre-Luc Dubois thing. Most general managers will stick with that guy and hope he turns around. So he cut bait quick and he flipped him for something that he needed. Are they a net loss? Yeah, but at least they're trying and he's admitting mistakes. That's good. But as far as the finals, boy, it's just good. It's just terrific. At first I thought it was going to be, just over in 4 or 5 games.
It was almost over in 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, but if this thing goes to Game 7, isn't that just going to be awesome?
That's spectacular. TV ratings are absolutely through the roof. So, Hockey Hotline is open. Oh, the old Canada Network is just starting to pile in. You got an opinion about what just happened with the Kings in Washington and Calgary, or Connor McDavid, jump on board. Last topic on the table. I knew this was going to be short-lived, the great feeling coming out of the Memorial. I just knew that this could not go on. DeChambeau's victory and just the great give back of the fans to the player to the fans. Within 24 hours, all the junk starts again between PGA, LIV, and now it's filtered down to DeChambeau again. Now it's got Scotty Scheffler dragged into an argument. First things first, so DeChambeau wins the Memorial. Phenomenal finish to the tournament. Felt terrible that Rory McIlroy missed the 2-foot and 3-foot putts, and he just mentally collapsed. DeChambeau becomes a new fans man. So he's running around with the U.S. Open trophy along the stands, letting the fans touch it, take pictures. So he was there till it was after dark.
Awesome.
So he's in Nashville last night, running the streets in Nashville, honky-tonking with the U.S. Open trophy. He went from bar to bar, put it on the bar, drank beer with a fan. It was really fun.
It's like the hockey guys with the Stanley Cup.
That's right. Everybody gets to take it home for one day.
Yeah.
Now, here we go. PGA-LIV. Jay Monahan, yesterday in Connecticut, right before the Travelers Championships began, says these talks are back on the front burner. It is complex, but it's opportunity. It's complex. We have had a year and a half of opportunity, and they are no closer now to getting this thing solved than DeChambeau says in Nashville last night. He was asked by a reporter that was trailing him in the bars as he bar hopped with the trophy. He said, "We should let bygones be bygones, and let's just put everybody together. It'd be great for golf." To which Scotty Scheffler said this morning, before they teed off in the first round of the Travelers, "You're the one that splintered this. You're the one, you guys who violated your tour cards and took all the money in Saudi Arabia, and you think we should just let you come back out of the goodness of your heart after what you did to the PGA Tour?" So now we got the 2 marquee names banging heads on each other. And Monahan says, it's complex, but there's opportunities, but nothing's been solved. By the way, 3.1 million watched the final round of the Memorial. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, but these guys are in grudge mode. It's stupid. I mean, they just need to kiss and make up. And as golf fans, we'll see them all together again.
But they violated their tour card and they almost killed the tour.
But now they want to get back together.
But they don't want to pay an entrance fee to come back or damage us for what they did.
They could work that out. Just get over the grudge, make them pay a little bit of money, get everyone back together and move forward.
Okay, that's where we are. Do you side with me or do you side with this guy out in left field? How'd you drag those golf clubs all the way out in left field? They're a little heavy in the heat. Hey, listen, our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 stores to serve you in San Diego, and by North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido. Right now, North County Eye Center offering you a free eye exam. Call, set up an appointment. Make sure you tell them Hacksaw sent you via his podcast. It's time for his fans, my enemies, to join us. We call us Fans Forum. Damn, we got a lot of people stacked up here with opinions. John, fire away.
Yeah, we do. Let's kick it off with John and a comment on Willie Mays. Rest in peace, Willie Mays. Thanks for all the memories. Say hey.
Oh, he was such a dynamic personality. And if you look at the videos now, because all the TV networks are running all these different videos, not just of the catch against the Cleveland Indians in the World Series in 1954, but there's one common denominator. Every time you look at a video, he's smiling.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a big grin from here to here. He was quite a gentleman. He was a hell of a player. And I tend to think he was a more complete player than Barry Bonds. And there's no doubt that Bonds was a great player, but there's an asterisk next to Bonds' name. And to me, it's just, I've said this again, it's so eerie that he passed the day before he was supposed to go to Birmingham to be saluted as part of the Negro League Hall of Fame game tonight that involves the St. Louis Cardinals. So, great man. John, thank you for the opportunity to be here and give us an opinion on Say Hey. Say Hey Kid.
Say Hey Kid. I mean, he's the last of that era, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are there any other players that are still alive that played in the Negro Leagues?
No, hardly. No, none of the stars. And, of course, right at the end of the Negro Leagues, we had Ernie Banks, Don Newcomb, Monty Irvin. That was right at the tail end of the Negro Leagues. And those guys all came to Major League Baseball in the early 50s. Negro Leagues went out completely, finally folded in 1954, but effectively in 48 or 49. Once Jackie Robinson left, once Larry Doby left, then there was a huge surge of guys who went into the minor leagues. That effectively took away the true stardom of the Negro Leagues.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting seeing all of the video footage because it makes you realize how rare that video footage is. When they run the B-roll of Willie Mays, there's only so many clips they can show, and they start recycling them.
I wish we had B-roll of Josh Gibson.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, but nobody's found it.
Nobody, but what's interesting too is that a lot of people didn't see Willie Mays in real life. They just see this or hear the stories. Some fans have said the best center fielder I ever saw was Ken Griffey Jr., and then someone tells them Mays was like Ken Griffey Jr., but better in every dimension.
Yeah, different athlete. He could fly. And, of course, I grew up Mickey Mantle in center field Yankee Stadium, and I never appreciated Willie Mays because the Giants weren't real good when he was young. I mean, in the late 50s, before they moved to San Francisco, they weren't very good at all. So he didn't quite get as much recognition, became a superstar out here because he was surrounded by your favorite first baseman, Stretch McCovey, and then surrounded by Orlando Cepeda. I mean, the Giants really were a great franchise.
Juan Marichal.
Got to the 1962 World Series. Were really, really good. So, Say Hey Kid. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Emmanuel. And he says, as a Dodger fan who only saw Barry Bonds play, I will say Willie Mays is Mr. Giant. From coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, and Mr. Mays winning a World Series gives the edge over Barry Bonds.
Well, I just think had Barry Bonds not cheated, now maybe he would not have hit 762 home runs if he wasn't a steroid guy. But Barry Bonds was a great player in his own right. Barry Bonds was a great Pittsburgh Pirate, and that was pre-steroids. And yet, obviously, look at what he became and look what happened. His reputation got dragged through the courts in the Balco case, and that's why he and Roger Clemens will never be, and Mark McGwire never be in the Hall of Fame because they got that stigma. And Bonds was a great player. There was no need to do it, but he wanted to do it because he wanted to get the big contract and be the star. But, man, Mays was great. I mean, if you just look at the statistics, the 660 home runs and the RBIs and the base hits and 24-time All-Star, Just absolutely amazing.
Well, that's when they had 2 All-Stars a year for a few years.
Yeah.
But do you think that if Mays did not get drafted into the Korea War, which, by the way, I don't know if he saw combat. He was more of a celebrity for the troops. But if he didn't play those 2 years, do you think he could have had more home runs than Barry Bonds?
Might have. But I think he was only gone 1 year in Korea.
Only one.
Only one. It was different than Ted Williams, who had missed, the effect of maybe 3 full seasons in baseball. Mm-hmm. But he came back, and he was a great player. That's why this week I've been just fascinated looking for different videos of stuff I've never ever seen. It's just what a great player.
Think about how many home runs he was robbed of at Candlestick Park, and actually Barry Bonds too. But when Mays played there, it was an open stadium, so the wind was flowing a lot more. I mean, that's why they say he learned to hit to right field, because there was a little bit of a jet stream that way.
And he started at the Polo Grounds, and center field to the clubhouse of the Polo Grounds. It was like 2 miles. It was a long way. Now they called it Coogan's Bluff because the foul lines were like 280 feet down the foul lines. But that was a long shot to hit that thing into left center. You couldn't hit it to dead center. I'd never recalled seeing anybody hit a fly ball that got close to the clubhouse, which was way out there.
Well, that Vic Wertz hit went pretty deep. I mean, that was over, 400 feet?
I want to say it was 460, and Willie caught it.
And he wasn't even on the warning track, I don't think, when he caught it.
Yeah, it was just absolutely amazing. All right, Fans Forum continues. Next question.
Okay, so let's go down the list here and go to Callan. And he says, sorry to have missed you on Monday. You think Florida is feeling the pressure of letting the 3-0 lead slip now? Coughing up 13 goals in 2 games isn't winning many hockey games. Yikes.
Well, I think we said this before this series started. Florida plays roughhouse hockey. They do lean on you, and they play the body, and they do take penalties, and they kill off penalties and all that, and they smother you. But this is an exceptional special teams group that they've got together, Callum. I mean, I've never seen a team score as many power play goals in postseason play in the Stanley Cup Finals, or score as many shorthanded goals as the Oilers have. So I think that Edmonton is really in the back of Florida's head right now. I think they're in their headspace, and I think they got them worried, because now Florida has to say, if we try to lean on them, we continue to take penalties, we're going to continue to put Connor McDavid and Draisaitl out there on the power play. We're in big trouble because these guys keep scoring power play goals on them. So now, can Florida change its persona? No. I think they have to swarm, and I think they have to play the body. They just need to stop taking cheap penalties, the hooks and the slashes, etc. I think this series is going 7. I think the sucker's going back to Florida. Then the onus will be on the Oilers. Can you win again in Florida against the Rat Pack? Interesting to see. But, boy, Friday night, I don't care what the hell you're doing Friday. We're bringing beer and having pizza, and we're watching the game Friday night here.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. I mean, now, let's just assume the Oilers win Game 7. That would be the first time ever that someone's come back from a 3-0 in the final, right?
1942.
That's the last time.
My Toronto Maple Leafs. Like everything else with the Maple Leafs, way back when.
Yeah, a long time ago.
1942, they were down 3-0 to the Detroit Red Wings. Of course, that was the war years, and with different rosters then. But they came back and beat the Red Wings 4 straight after being down 3-0. It's never been done since. And this would be amazing if this happens. So let's see what Friday brings. Molson's Canadian Frosted Glasses.
For sure, and I'm going to love watching the national anthem. That's always a ton of fun. Okay, let's go here to Chris. He goes, bleep and saw. Going to do something I never thought I would. I am applauding the Lakers front office for hiring J.J. Redick. Sure, they probably lowballed Hurley and missed out, but what the hell do they have to lose? James Borrego, Kenny Atkinson, any of the list completely uninspiring candidates are sure 2 years and done. They could catch lightning in a bottle with J.J. Any of the other retreads are nothing more than Darvin Ham 2.0. P.S. Schilt will stop making excuses for the Padres when ...
Well, in terms of the Lakers, they interviewed who they wanted to interview, and they've been zinged 3 straight times now by Rob Pelinka's hires. This better work out, because the next press conference will be Pelinka's firing. But this guy's smart. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he is the basketball's version of an analytics junkie. The only question I have is he tough enough to do this with players? Granted, Tyronn Lue became a head coach for the first time somewhere, and he had to go through a learning curve, but he didn't let guys walk all over him. It's going to be important that LeBron and AD don't walk all over this guy. Equally as important that this general manager goes out and finds some more players to give this new head coach a better fitting roster. Going to be fascinating to see, but bit of a gamble. But then again, if you're Laker ownership, how do you go to your fans and say, Well, we didn't get Hurley and Reddick, and maybe we could interview the guy who was 14 and 68 in Detroit. How do you do that, too?
Well, do you think Reddick was recommended by Krzyzewski because Reddick is a Duke guy, right?
Well, they were together for a long time.
Right, so they knew each other, but Reddick was more like a three-point shooter. You kind of wonder, is that the persona that you want as a teacher? But then again, I guess Steve Kerr was a three-point shooter, and look at his coaching success.
And Kerr had no background at all in coaching. Pat Riley had no background at all. And I'm sure the Lakers press conference will say, look at what we've experienced already with one guy. Look at what Golden State's experienced with one guy.
Yeah, so let's go hire someone with no experience because we think it's going to work.
Hell, I'm in the media. I was available. Thank you. Next question.
Okay, let's go here to David. He goes, NFL is boring. Why would I want to waste time watching a sport where the strategy may involve running out the clock? But the NFL should reward fans, not punish them financially.
But here's the problem. He's obviously making reference to the antitrust lawsuit and Sunday Ticket and DirecTV. You know, the problem is, and this is why John and I have just gone back and forth on this for a couple of weeks during the course of this antitrust trial, is you do have access. You get to watch the hometown team free. I mean, the Rams and Chargers are on your television in L.A. and San Diego and Southern California every Sunday free of charge, and you do get the CBS package. You do get the Fox package. So it's not as if you're being forced. You can make the choice. I get Sunday Ticket because I'm a freaking NFL junkie, voice of the Chargers and the Seahawks. So I love NFL football, and the wife is a Steeler fan yelling at the TV, scaring the dog. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'll do it because it's my thing. But you're not forced to buy it because you do have all these other games. That's why I just don't quite understand the logic that this is an antitrust violation because the league is giving you games already.
Yeah, the whole thing is nonsense, just to me. The league should be able to charge what they want, and if they charge too much, then people won't buy it. And that's the give and take of a market dynamic. But I want to go to Dave's comment earlier. He says, the NFL is boring. I mean, are you buying that? I mean, now college football is a lot more entertaining than the NFL, don't you think?
Well, college football is explosive. And then you got young kids, and young kids make mistakes, got great athletes, and there's big plays all over the place. There's a lot more football science to the NFL. I don't think it's boring by any stretch. I think it's great players making great plays against great defenses. Mm-hmm. But that's the first fan that I've ever had in modern day time say, I don't like the NFL. It's boring. How's it boring? It's big. It's physical. It's really fast. And by the way, their TV ratings, 93 of the top 100 shows on television were NFL games last season.
Yeah, the NFL is king. There's no doubt about it.
On we go. Fans Forum. Next question.
Let's go to Gary. And he's talking here about Willie. He says, he would have beat Babe Ruth, but he joined the Army. Say hey, rest in peace.
Yeah, great. And it's really impossible to compare players of one era to players in a different era. I mean, a Bambino with 714 home runs was a man among boys physically in that era. But I don't know how you compare 1920 to the 1950s with say hey to where we are with the superstar of Aaron Judge today. It's impossible because the travel's different, the game is different, the pitchers are drastically different. The off-season weight training has changed the whole composite of what a ball player is today compared to what he was in the 50s, compared to what it might have been with the Babe and the Bambino. So it's just a different game. But say, hey, man, you look at the video of him, you compare it to the video you might see of Henry Aaron, the video of Mickey Mantle. He just a five-tool player, complete, round-the-clock five-tool player, better than all of them, I thought.
Do you ever see in the B-roll when we're seeing Willie Mays on TV, his swing was a little different than the swing of modern-day players?
I always thought Henry Aaron had the best wrists I ever saw in baseball. Mm-hmm. And then I'd look closely at Mays, and I thought, 660 home runs. Look at his wrist and the power. And he was thick. And so there was a lot of oomph behind his swings. I think he might have the most prolific swing of anybody in baseball. Mantle had a great swing, especially left-handed, his home run abilities. But just what a phenomenal, complete five-tool guy he was.
Yeah, and then the other part of his backstory is interesting because when he was living in San Francisco, he tried to buy a house in the city, and he got a lot of pushback, because of discrimination and all of that. But he stayed strong, and he eventually bought that house to with his wife.
Yeah. And the Giants did a lot to support him, too. Mm-hmm. But then again, the Giants got really good really quick after they got there in 58. And then all of a sudden, hell, they were in the World Series.
You know, the Giants should have won so many more World Series in the 60s. It seemed like they were loaded, but they always seemed to come in second place, you know, mostly to the Dodgers.
Right. It is the great rivalry.
Oh, no question about it.
Dodger-Giant rivalry, and not just because it's L.A.-San Francisco, but that predates Ebbets Field Polo Grounds.
Yeah, you know, and then the Johnny Roseboro incident with Marichal, all of that. What a great rivalry it was.
On we go. Fans Forum continues.
Okay, let's go here to Manny. He says, as a Lakers fan, why should I care about next season? The Lakers are losing their list and need a full rebuild.
Well, they might be headed to a full rebuild. I don't think they're going to have a hell of a lot of cap space. They obviously have a late first-round pick this year, but I don't think that's going to be a difference maker. The number ones have had more recently all these guards. They've drafted Schifino and Max Christie before that. None of those guys are playing. And you'd think by a third or fourth year, these guys would be into the rotation, and they don't have a lot of cap space. So I don't know if we're riding this out. If we're, you know, LeBron's going to be, 39 going to 40. So how much time does he have left on the clock? And Anthony Davis has still got years left, but you need more than one quality player to survive in the league. So I guess the thing that's the most shocking to me, we you know, you and I worked in the era of Showtime, and I did my shows from the Great Western Forum and draft shows in the Lakers front office and all that. And there was a uniqueness to the greatness of the Lakers. And now we're having just a generic conversation about the Lakers. Can we finish high enough so we'll be in the play-in game?
I know, really.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. You know, I think I quoted you on Monday that Lakers statistic that I dug up, that 11 of the last 12 years, the Lakers have finished 7th or worst in the playoff race in the Western Conference. That's modern-day Laker basketball with all the banners hanging up there. 11 times they finished 7th or worse to try to get into the Western Conference playoffs in the last 12 years.
Yeah, they're not the Lakers of old at all. But listen about J.J. Redick. What do you think he's going to do? What is he going to bring? Is he going to be a run and gun like Paul Westhead, or what do you think kind of a system he has in mind?
They're going to shoot threes because the threes are the great equalizers in the NBA. I don't know who the hell's going to shoot the threes if D'Angelo Russell leaves. It might be Austin Reeves. Maybe they'll go get some more players that can fit that style. Does he teach defense? Because the Lakers' interior defense has really been pretty shabby the last group of years, too. So this will be interesting to see the analytics that he brings and what the personality of the Lakers on the floor. Because obviously LeBron has the ball in his hands and everything runs through LeBron. Is it going to change that? Or can he get more people that will be complements to what LeBron and AD do, which means can they go get some more outside shooters? It's a roster that needs changes.
So when J.J. Redick's on the sideline, what do you expect? Do you think he's going to wear a suit like Pat Riley? Is he going to wear like logo gear like some of the other coaches?
The whole world's wearing logo gear.
Because I think he's going to still find ways to show off his tats, right?
Okay, we'll see where it goes. Hey, he's your coach, not necessarily mine. This will be interesting to gauge going forward. John, got a couple more here?
Yeah, we do. Let's talk Padre baseball here, and this is with Plastic Ben. He says, I've been contemplating this for a while, and it came to the conclusion that Juan Soto was never the problem in San Diego. The Xander Bogaerts signing will go down as one of the grossest overpays of all time. Right behind it is Manny Machado, who is the problem. Things will never click as long as Manny is on the roster, no matter how many times they try to trade their way out of it. Not a Padres fan, just a friendly observation.
I think it's a good observation because the one consistent in all the frustrating years we've had more recently is Machado and A.J. Preller. That's the consistent. Now, up until this year, Bogaerts has been a really rock-solid player. 280 career average, never got hurt, now he's hurt, and had a lousy start to the season. Manny is not quite what he was before. I think the thing that turns people off is just Manny's persona. I just don't think people have ever gotten away from how he acted at the end in Baltimore. Nobody in Baltimore's got a good thing to say about him. I don't think people have forgiven him for the stupidity of the comment, I don't need to be Johnny Hustle. He said that after the Dodgers World Series. And then the comment last year as the team was faltering again, just read the back of my baseball card. You make stupid statements, they tack that up next to your baseball card, and people remember that stuff. I think he's a rock-solid ball player. I think the game comes really easy to him. I'm not going to bag on him because he's hurt right now. If he was hitting 230 and loafing, would be screeching. The whole town would probably be screeching. So I think you need to cut him some slack. He never misses a game. He's played more games than anybody in the major league since 2015. He is in the lineup all the time. And sometimes it looks like he's loafing, but I think the game is so easy for him athletically because he's such a great athlete. It looks like he's gliding. So I'm not as critical of Manny right now because he's dinged up. But the one constant through all this year and year of frustration is Manny Machado and A.J. Preller and the contracts that the general manager's given out to those players. And maybe it's going to come back to haunt them. Maybe they're never, ever going to get there because he has no way to upgrade and change the roster without trading a farm system away again.
Manny is not the problem.
Okay.
I mean, he's a little prickly. He's got his own thing, and I'm not Johnny Hustle, and he sometimes doubles down on that. But he's really not the problem. His defense is fantastic. He's slumping. He's going to come around. The problem is something else, and I don't think we've been able to figure out how to put our finger on what the problem is. Maybe the problem is A.J. Preller.
Well, the problem is that they've traded all these players away. They don't have anything in the farm system. Their top 5 players have all hit a wall at every level. Nobody's doing anything. Could those guys be traded? Sure. But then what's the benefit if all you're doing is filling holes that you created by trading other guys away? You're going to trade Ethan Salas away, your young catcher that's supposed to be star of the future? You're going to trade DeVries, the young shortstop, away? Now, granted, they're not ready to be in the major leagues, but you're going to trade another hot young talent to fill a hole you created because you made a mistake somewhere else. That's the issue. It seems to be just a revolving door of scrambling to fix this issue that I created because I screwed up the last issue. I don't know if that makes sense.
But you got to still fix the issue, know, so you can't.
Yeah, but you created the issue.
Well, yeah, they created the issue, but you still got to fix it. You can't just leave the problem exposed, so Manny's not the problem.
Okay.
Maybe Juan Soto was, but not Manny.
All right. Social media. You think we got a few people with opinions there?
Well, that's where we are. Let's go. Let's talk Angel baseball. This is with Eldell, and he says, I think we dropped the ball with keeping Ohtani the last year instead of trading him at the All-Star break. Could have got some serious prospects in return for a good organization like the New York Yankees or the Dodgers. Instead, we kept him like we were going to make a push. Shaking my head.
Well, I think you can always, 2020 hindsight's always great. If you were not committed to make him an offer to keep him in October, then you should have shopped him and gotten the bonanza price. And yeah, people would have said Artie Moreno screwed this up. Artie Moreno's given up. But if you got 3 young guys who are in your everyday lineup now for Ohtani, then maybe you'd be better than a 24-43 team right now. Now the rumblings that came out last week about maybe they would consider talking to Trout, and then the Giants rumblings from San Francisco that if he were available, maybe we should look at that. Well, ownership. Do you want to own this thing? Do you want to run it correctly? You are, quote, in the second biggest market in the country. And when you had good teams, you did draw huge crowds in Anaheim. But if you never had the intent to re-sign him, then why did you not trade him and start the stockpile rebuild? Because then you still would have had Trout, and you could have had 3 or 4 players for a superstar. Now, maybe the response is we couldn't get 3 or 4 stars because he was going to go on the free agent market. Well, you put him in a place where he'd sign somewhere else. Hell, you trade him to the Dodgers. If he wants to be a Dodger, you trade him to the Dodgers and you get 4 of the Dodgers' top young players, and they're now in Anaheim, and you've got a better chance to compete than being 24-43 with Team Utility Man.
Yeah, you get something. I mean, the Padres got something for Soto. We can debate, the quality of a Johnny Brito. But when was the last time the Angels have done something right, where we've praised the organization for their decision?
Not recently. I mean, they did sign Ohtani, and they got him very cost effective. They convinced him to come here, so that's a pretty good acquisition for 6 years.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and obviously Trout, and they re-signed Trout to a mega contract. But that's been offset by the terrible mistakes, the Anthony Rendon situations and the crap contracts that they gave out to Vernon Wells and Justin Upton. I mean, if we did a checklist, there'd probably be more negatives than there are positives in the Artie Moreno regime.
Oh, I think it's overwhelming. That list is lopsided.
Next topic here, social media.
Let's talk about Charles Barkley, and this is from the Toe Cutter. Because Barkley is about as sharp as a bowling ball. Listening to him and try and talk about things he knows nothing about or interjecting his irrelevant opinions was painful. It seems like some millennial producer came up with the name for this show as a sole basis because it was clever, and other fool producers bought into it.
Well, he's making reference to the talk show that he co-hosted for 12 minutes with Gayle King from CBS.
Minutes, yeah.
And it wasn't very good. And I don't need Charles Barkley's opinion on abortion or Charles Barkley's opinion on Trump or whatever.
Yeah.
But, there's no doubt that he is a persona. And that's the way TV is now. Opinions and loudness. The other end of the spectrum, you got Stephen A. Smith. I almost fell off the chair. Stephen A. Smith was a really good sports writer at Philadelphia Daily News. That's where I first met him. I interviewed him a couple times. And now he's become a megastar. And now he's got bodyguards. They brought him in, to the arenas for the NBA Finals. He's wearing silk white suits.
Yeah.
He looks like a mafioso with bodyguards. And this is Stephen A. Smith. And now he's as loud as Barkley, and he's got opinions on anything and everything. And I'm sorry, SAS, I don't want to hear your opinions about taxes or, that's – I hate to say this because it sounds terrible, but it's like these TV executives are directing these people to talk to the lowest common denominator, a fan. Talk to your strength. Barkley on basketball. Stephen A. Smith, I think, has tremendous knowledge on basketball. Where he lost me during a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, he went on and on and on about Tom Brady and New England and throwing to all these star wide receivers. And these wide receivers are making Brady great. He kept referencing these two wide receivers. Both had been on injured reserve all year, had never played a down. And here's SAS talking about these guys, Kendall Bourne, and I forget, the other one might have been Edelman. They were on IR all year. They never played a down. And I thought, you're just BSing your way through something you don't know. And I'm supposed to say, this is great TV? Come on now.
Well, you've got an opinion about everything. You just don't wear a silk suit when you come strutting in.
No, I don't own a suit, but it's fascinating. I watch him in the morning sometimes, and would you ever wear a pink suit? He does.
Well, because he wants to be that guy. Because he sees all the athletes making their fashion show entrance into the arena. Now
neon
it's his
lights,
turn.
everything in neon lights. But if you like Barkley and SAS, that's okay. As long as you watch
Barkley,
us.
I think, is going to not be fully retired. Someone's going to throw money at him. He'll come back. Stephen A. Smith is just a spectacle, but he's getting ripped on for all the Caitlin Clark talk.
Oh, just getting hammered by his own people. Mm-hmm. And I get bothered a little bit because there's an awful lot of racial tinge stuff that he says. And I don't know that every aspect of every minute of everybody's life has to be racially tinged, especially in sports. Talk about the teams, talk about the players, but he throws this tinge stuff out because I can't pay attention to it because I'm watching his white silk suit.
I like how he gives the Cowboy fans crap.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed what we're trying to bring your way. Agree or disagree, doesn't matter. Just make sure you tell a friend. We want you to share. We want you to subscribe. I want you to follow me on X. X marks the spot. Just follow me at Hacksaw1090. We're actually, in all honesty, we're trying to get to 10,000 followers on my X Twitter account.
You're close.
We're banging on it. So if you've not been there, do that. And check my website, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Our podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center Stores, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego, and by North County Eye Center. Free vision test. Free vision test. Call North County Eye Center. Tell them you listen to Hacksaw. You'd like to come in. Have them take care of you. John? Friday night, pal. Pizza, sausage, pepperoni, Molson's Canadian. Here come the Oilers. Here come the Florida Panthers, Game 6. And we'll be back here on Monday to wrap it all up and talk about it.
It's going to be fantastic. Now, when would Game 7 be in the NHL?
Monday night.
It would be Monday night. This is going to be awesome.
So you'll be over at my place with pizza and beer.
There you go.
Or sub sandwiches and beer. Have a great sports weekend.
Same to you.
And thanks for being with us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.